Hello, everybody. Welcome to DC Time. I'm Dean.
I'm Chris.
Thanks for joining us. Glad you're all out there and glad to get together again with Chris. Chris brought an article today he was looking at, so we might talk a little bit about that. We both just watched Clyde's new video, so we were talking a little bit about that. It just come out, and it was about the King James translation and some of his thoughts on translations, specifically that one, the King James, and how important that was in his upbringing. I certainly had there was a lot of emphasis put on that when I was young. I can remember in certain people, at least within my denomination, really thought that was the translation.
The pinnacle, yeah.
Yeah, and you would, and that's what Clyde also mentioned. He was King James only type situation. Right. So there were some neat thoughts in there. Chris and I like that. I think we appreciate, well, there's many things about it. When you start thinking about translations and you start thinking about how much we rely upon other people to share truth with us, whether that be in a translation of the scriptures, which right away everyone knows now. I mean, there's so many differences and so many scholars and historians still tweaking and trying to get the words as close as they can. And that's part of the study Bible project that Clyde's working on and others are working on, especially him, to make an effort, which we really appreciate, to really bring out what are these words, the original words, what are they really saying? What is the true meaning? So we appreciate that. Something that hit me just as Chris and I was talking, I think Chris mentioned it, and I'd forgotten this too. Not too long ago in the past, most people couldn't read. So
yeah,
you're just getting these scriptures read to you. You're just being told.
Yeah. Some of it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's not even being read to you.
Well, yeah, right. There's a lot of that. So can you imagine what people or what you hold on to? So even today, sometimes we think that, we know something or know truth or know what these words say, and then repeat them.
Yeah.
And then you may just might have it just a little off or something. And that could form a whole new meaning or doctrine, and basically a denomination is what happens in the history of times, and people are just listening. If I can encourage you out there, what's something I know Chris and I think is important to keep reminding yourselves that with all this help out there today, and there's a ton of it, and it's good. I'm not gonna, it is. Even within all the error within it. Yeah. There's so much good information you can go to, but you can do this on your own. Any way that you see fit, however God's going to do it for you.
Exactly.
Because only God can bring out the truth for you. And he blinds us all and lets us see things in his timing. So it's all of him is what we think. That comforts me.
Yeah.
But also I want to encourage you not, to be aware of what you are sitting under, so to speak, and this could be with anything. When you're fed something all the time, like we all grow up a certain way. Everybody's got that story. No matter what tradition you grew up in, you just thought that was it. But how many of us changed our mind and thought, now look at it differently? It's like, maybe these people we thought had the truth didn't have the truth. Is that still happening today? Yeah, of course. So there's nobody, you don't have to go to anybody. It's between you and God. And he's going to let you know what his word says. Even when you mention this too, even when we get it wrong, or we can't figure something out, we're Chris and I was looking at that now, we know something special.
Oh yeah, that's so true. We may not see exactly the significance of what's being said, but we're going, something's there. I just can't quite see it. And then we said the same thing. We said it's fine not to know what it means right now, but that's going to come into view again. He'll add realization down the road, maybe something else, and we'll go, that goes with what we were talking about back here. We've had that happen. And so because that's happened, then we do have the patience to look at it and go, gosh, I wish I could figure out. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with this, with what I'm looking at now.
Well, and also on that point too, I think our hearts changed a little bit, or God's helped change us into it. There's not so much importance of, you gotta, here's the truth, here's the right belief, and we're not gonna change. Here it is, we got it, we're not changing.
Yeah.
That was kind of the King James thing. Like, here's what we're doing. Yes. There's rules in place.
Right.
Well, we still kind of have that today. You might put your own kind of rules on yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
We're not doing that as much. We're a little more open, which, like, of course, that can be criticized.
Yeah.
That gets criticized if you're open or searching for more or admitting that we don't really fully understand or know something's deeper than what we could truly understand.
Mm-hmm.
That gets criticized. And I get that. I get that too. But
I appreciate what you said. Clyde shared that the Anglican Church, was it King George, or he named the king who wanted the King James Bible.
I thought you were setting up a joke here. Or
no, I'm not smart enough for that. But that he wanted, one government, one religion, one scripture, all of this, there's it doesn't take you too much to figure out there's a little bit of control here. We're just going to have this one thing. And so even the language and the words that were used, eternal, forever, that Clyde shared, these were words that they put an emphasis on using, So all of that has bias, and, there's translation errors. Translations errors made by men who meant well, and I'll tell you, you had just brought this up. I had, in this article that I wanted to bring up, Michael Knotts shared it on the WhatsApp maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's called Light and Darkness by S. Dilks. So I had read it, really enjoyed it, and then I went back a second time and was looking at it again, and what stood out to me was the reference to Isaiah 45:7. And that's the verse that I had learned that we have evidence that Father is responsible for evil. Okay? And what came out was, in my head, I was thinking of that verse. And in my head, I was hearing it as, I, Yahweh, create light, I create darkness. I, Yahweh, create good, and I create evil. Or I would say, I, Yahweh, create light and darkness. Mm-hmm. I create good and evil. So in my head, that's how I had, and that's paraphrasing for sure. Well, then in this article, there's 2 places it refers to it. And so then I'm looking at the actual way it's written. So then I go to the concordant version, Old Testament. I want to go back and see how close this is to what it, and of course, there's a perfect example of something getting screwed up in translation. The old telephone game where you have 10 kids in a room, you whisper something in one's ear, it goes all the way around. It'll never be the same message it started out to be. And see, it happened to me. I was already paraphrasing. Well, when I went and read it, I started thinking, okay, God is not sloppy with the words that he chooses. So when I looked at it, it said, I form the light and create darkness. I make good and I create evil. And right then I thought, well, first of all, I knew right away what I had done. I had paraphrased the words form. I form the light.
Yeah, former
and
maker. Yeah.
And make, some of them are former and maker was used. And I thought, wow. you know there's significance because he also uses the word create. In the first line, I form the light and create darkness. I make good and create evil. So then I'm sitting there looking at it going, okay, there's two things he created here. And this other thing he forms or is the former of, and he makes this or is the maker of good or goodness. So then I went and looked up the Hebrew words for create. That's it's B-A-R-A, and then they did a phonetic spelling as B-A-W-R-A-W, like bara. And that's to create, bara. And I started looking at the definitions of an understanding of what did they mean by create, and maybe the third definition, because the word make was in there and stuff like that. But it also said that it had a significance that was associated with God as being the only one to be able to create. And it said to create, to make something out of nothing. Now, the minute I thought of that, to make something out of nothing, I thought of, okay, well, when he made man, it was he formed the earth or dust out of the ground. So he was using an element. It was here, you know. So this idea that he makes something out of nothing means that its elements weren't even here yet. So he creates something out of nothing. Well, he did that with darkness, and he did that with evil. Well, this article tells you, you know, one of the interesting things is in Revelations 22:5, those are the things that are going to go away. The sun will go away. There'll be no need for sun. Night will go away. It'll be light all the time. Well, that got me to thinking. So I started thinking, I think I always thought of darkness first and then light.
I think our mind just, when Chris was telling me this right before we started here, it's like, yeah, not that I sat around and thought about that, but it makes sense to think of it in that way. Or I probably thought that also.
Yeah.
Like you thought light come up on the scene.
Pierce the darkness or something, you know.
But maybe, I love that thought that, well, God is love, God is light.
Yeah, we find 1 John 1:5 says God is light, and darkness there is none in him.
Right.
Okay?
So
it didn't exist.
Yeah.
He had to create it. Well, then we got to talking, if this makes perfect sense when you read things about the jurisdiction of darkness. Then you have to put someone in control of that. So he creates an adversary. And the adversary works in that darkness. All of those things have a purpose, and they serve their purpose, and then they go away. But it tells me that in here he actually says it. Where is it?
I like the thoughts of, there again, it's something, our world, our realm, we think this is all there is to it. But when you see the Creator's hands on it, like, okay, he's made all this. So he's outside of that in a sense. He's in all this, but his light, his love, it's another realm that we've yet to experience the full thing.
Yeah.
We're playing around with this good and bad stuff here.
Right. He talks like the way he talks, I started thinking, okay, so there's always been light because God is light. We know God's always been.
Yeah.
And if God's always been, good has always been. Yes, he's the maker of good here, but it's an attribute.
Well, what's cool is there again, that's just, I don't know what there again, not to teach on this or know what, but it's a really neat thought. It makes sense. Well, yeah, that's why he's forming and making and doing things.
Right.
He's got that. He had to create this darkness.
Right. And create
that's
evil.
something new that he created that. That just comforts me because he's going to do away with it. He's in control of it.
Right.
He created it. It didn't just slip in. It didn't just come in here some way. And now he's going to deal with it someday. That's the story we grew up with.
Exactly.
We don't give him credit for that or responsibility for it, but someday he's going to do away with it. Well, and everybody's screaming, hurry up, right?
Yeah.
When you see it differently, that he's actually got a plan for all this, he had to create it. He's going to, that brings me some peace.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it speaks to a creator, a masterful creator who's got everything in control. It's all precise. He uses precise words. And so that's what clued me in, that there were different words being used here. That former word, yatsar, the maker word was yatzer, and this bara, Yahtzee. But that's what I got pulled into. And then it made total sense. In this one paragraph, it says the jurisdiction of darkness is mentioned twice in scriptures. Colossians 1:13 and Luke 22:53. In Luke, Jesus speaks of the authority of darkness in reference to his impending death. For he was the world's light, and when the light was extinguished, truly darkness was in authority. While there were 3 hours of literal darkness as he hung on the cross, there were in fact 3 days of figurative darkness as he who was light lay in the tomb. Here the adversary appears to reach his greatest triumph, and among the celestials he stands a victor. Let us not forget that this was truly a time of testing, not only for the Lord's disciples on earth, but also for the faithful among the celestial host. Yet Satan's apparent triumph is really his defeat. And that goes back to his ways are not our ways. When we see his ways, we always go, oh, well, of course it's that way. Yeah. You don't see it right off. It's always kind of just, it's there, and then he lifts the veil, and then you see it, and you go, well, of course. So all of this talk in Ephesians, at the celestial realm, the fact that an adversary, what does he do sometimes? He tries to fool people by passing him off as a presenter of light, a messenger of light. That's how he tries to pass himself off, to fool people. This host of people, one of mine and Dean's favorite verses is Romans 8:38 and 39. All of these things that cannot separate us, authorities, lords, mights, sovereignties, cannot separate us from the love of God. It gets richer when you see something like this, and you're right. Even though I am still struggling, trying to figure out what is exactly going on in that, the former of light and the maker of good, creator of darkness, creator of evil. I'm comfortable knowing that it's appropriate. It's exactly as it should be. And I'm also appropriate knowing greater light will be given me at another time so that I can see this better. I know that's going to happen.
Right.
And oftentimes it's been where I see something and then it takes me back to something else. So it's interesting, and of course I'm just going to look forward to it, and I'll continue to look at some things, but I thought it was worth sharing. I brought it to Dean, and we thought, well, heck, let's talk about it on the show today. So
I like it, just talking about things, and it gives you a new viewpoint. Like just bringing this subject up, just to think in terms of, oh, wait a minute, there wasn't darkness.
I know it. That there was light, only light, because it was only God.
That's what God is. That's what He is.
Exactly.
So there wasn't darkness.
There's tons of verses that talk about the effulgence of God,
right?
The glory of God. Moses had to cover his face,
right? Because
that had shone on him, and they couldn't look upon Moses. There's all kinds of references. That another funny thing is we're looking at this one verse, Isaiah 45:7, and parsing these words out. All the verses, it makes me go back to, what is it? The Proverbs that says the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to investigate a matter. And that's all we're doing. We're just investigating, looking into these things. And for me, again, final authority is my Father. And that's who I'm going to go to, and that's who I'm going to wait on for understanding.
All right, good deal. Well, we love y'all out there, and remember, Father, your Creator, He loves you.
Absolutely.
You are not, no matter how much you're struggling or how much a struggle that you have gone through, or sometimes we're fooled to think, and there again, it's because of, depending on who you're listening to or what translation you're grabbing certain verses from, well, all of a sudden you see some of this evil and darkness, and then that's what's sad to me now. It's heartbreaking. You start thinking that that's me. That's what I am, because maybe we see evil or we see things in each other, but it's an illusion. You're not the evil. You're not the bad. Okay, you're not seeing the true self, who you really are in Christ. That's all a done deal.
Yeah.
And he loves you. He's got a plan for you, but you're not the evil.
No.
That was something big to come.
Right.
Along our journey, you get to a point of, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Believers have stepped out of the darkness and they're trusting Father for the light, and there's all kinds of analogies about light. Not too long ago, we talked about walking through the woods with a light. The light didn't remove the obstacles, but it made it where we could see enough to walk through or around or over the obstacles. There'll come a day when everyone comes out from underneath the darkness. Everyone will know who is the light of this world. So,
all right.
Y'all have a good week. Love all of you.
See you next time.
Amen.